What is going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about. We're going to go over some stocks. We're going to go over my expectations. We're going to go over everything. Let's get straight into it. Now, right now, we're looking at the SPY 4-hour time frame, and everything is going according to plan, just like we said in our last video, where we're going to continue to see newer highs. But the only issue is, and it's pretty much my issue, something that is kind of bugging me, is just how we're still really, really close to the bottom of this rising wedge on the SPY. Now, I don't necessarily think it's anything to worry about. I still think we're going to head higher. I just want to see a bigger push to the upside. And we saw that. We saw that on the triple Qs. It's just the SPY is kind of lagging behind. And I do think it's going to catch up at some point. I just want to be more comfortable and see a bigger move away from the bottom of this rising wedge and the supply and demand zone at around 600. And so Friday, we saw that close above 600. We saw it close at around 602.5, 603. And so today, we are seeing a lot of consolidation between about what was it 602.8 603.5, somewhere around that range, where we saw a lot of consolidation there. And so it's only safe to assume that the SPY is preparing for a bigger move to the upside. At least that's my assumption. Now, we're still on track to our price target of 610, 612. And if you're new to the channel and you're wondering where I'm getting that target from, if we look at history and see what happens within this rising wedge. Every time we hit the top of this rising wedge, we reject it, right? We see our rejection here, we see a rejection here. And so it's only safe to assume that if we are going to continue head higher and the SPY is going to eventually catch up with the triple Qs and the NQ, that we're going to head higher. And if we are, we're going to head back towards the top of this rising wedge, which will lead us all the way towards about 610, 612, if we're really being optimistic. Now, if we want to lowball it and be conservative, then I would say about 605, 607, somewhere around that range, and maybe a rejection. But if we're really being optimistic, if we're being extremely bullish and looking for more upside, then I will look for a move all the way back towards the top of this rising wedge before we see another rejection in the market. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen all in one day. I'm not saying it's going to happen in 2 days. I give it about a week or two before we actually really see that move. And who knows, maybe we do see it in a day. That would be great. But if I'm, being a safe trader and being disciplined, I would just have an expectation for this move to happen within a week or two. Right now, the Discord, we are in about 605 calls for the following week. So be on the lookout for that if you are in the Discord. And if you're not in the Discord, just keep an eye on the move and see how it plays out. And, from there you can decide if you want to join the Discord. Discord link is in the description below. But things are looking good. And so we look at the triple Qs, right? And again, everything's going according to plan. Triple Qs is looking amazing. And so what I want to see from here, let's actually go to the daily time frame so we can get an idea on what exactly we are looking at. Again, we're looking at another rising wedge pattern, right? And we're still within it. We closed above some major levels last Friday, and that only led us to head higher today. And so we saw that close above about 508.8. We'll say 509 just to be sure. But 509, we saw that close, and from here, it is possible to see some type of retest back towards the downside. And so we go back towards the 4-hour time frame, wrong time frame. We go back towards the 4-hour time frame here, and as you guys can see, this area right here, I do imagine if we are going to see a retest back towards the downside, I think this will be the point of contact here where we see a move back towards about 508. We'll say 510 psych level, but somewhere around here where we see that nice little retest before we head higher. And again, like I said in the last video, if we're really being optimistic, we can see a move as high as about the 530s on the triple Qs. And I did see on the options chain today. We won't go over options chain today, but I just want to get more confirmation before we really get deep into it because I don't want to mislead anyone. But I did see 530 calls come in for the triple Qs. Now it was only one order so far, but it is something to pay attention to. I believe they were like 2 weeks out, I want to say, but something to pay attention to if you do trade off the options chain. But otherwise, I'll probably go over that in another video. It won't be the focus of this video, but things are looking good. So again, what I would like to see, and I mean, you can see it clear as day here. And the reason why I say we could look at some type of rejection from this point before we head higher, you see it here. This guy right here is kind of holding us back at around I want to say this is about 516.3, 517, somewhere around there. But these guys right here are kind of holding the triple Qs back. Now, I mean, we can blow past them. Maybe we get some amazing news tomorrow. Who knows? But I do imagine if the SPY wants to head higher, it's probably waiting on this. Okay. Probably. And that's probably why the SPY is kind of lingering behind. It's probably waiting on that nice little retest before we break higher. And again, we could be wrong here, but it's just something to pay attention to. Now, if we break above this level, mark this on your charts. Feel free to mark this on your charts. We break above this, then clearly we're going to head higher. We're going to head towards that 520 target we talked about. And that's just us being conservative. We said 515, 520 last video, but if we're really being optimistic and we're really talking about some major highs here, we could be seeing a move as high as about the 530s, 535, 536. It can get really, really crazy. But again, we're going to be humble. We're going to be conservative. We're going to focus on that 520 target first and then go from there. But things are looking good in regards to the triple Qs. Again, the move that I am expecting from this point, and it can happen tomorrow, maybe maybe we get news or whatever the case may be. Maybe the news Wednesday we get causes this move, but we see some type of rejection from this point before we start to head higher and really start heading towards those crazy highs. So things are looking really, really good right now. And so I want to go over the Russell because folks are asking me about the Russell and if I'm worried and all that stuff. I mean, there's nothing to really worry about here in regards to the Russell. The Russell is just lingering behind. We go to the, I guess we can focus on the 4 hour time frame here. So the 4 hour time frame, right? We got our, we got this right here, and we got this right here. So right now we have a symmetrical triangle. You can even argue that this is a bear flag. Either one is fine. I'm not too picky on either or. I mean, you will have your flagpole here, then you will have a flag here. So there is somewhat of a bear flag forming here. Me, I like the rectangular bear flags and bull flags. They just seem to play out much better. But I would just call this a symmetrical triangle. That's just me. Do what you want with that information. So right now, the Russell is just trading within this range right here until it breaks in either direction. I'm not too worried. But what I will say is if it does just so happen to break to the upside, which is very much possible, right? As long as it stays below 145, again, not too worried. I mean, it'll just hit 145 right here where we hit before. And then possibly reject from there. So, not too worried about the Russell. Again, the Russell, the SPY, they're all lingering behind because I do believe that upside for them is pretty limited. I mean, obviously a move for all the way to 610, 612 is not limited in my opinion, but in comparison to the triple Qs heading all the way to the 530s, that's pretty limited in my opinion. But we'll see. So Russell still looking fine. I have no worries about this. I mean, it looks fine. It's just trading within this flag right now until it breaks into either direction. We'll talk about it. But right now, Russell is holding about 141. And until we get below 141 and actually hold, there's not much to talk about here. So let's get into Bitcoin real quick, and then we'll start talking about the stocks that everyone's asking me about. So right now, Bitcoin's looking fine. I mean, until it breaks below 94K, I wouldn't worry too much. You can say 95K is a psych level, you'll start worrying there, but really 94K is the main concern. But even then, I mean, we break below 94K, then we're looking at a move to 92K, and the lowest I'm looking at is about 90K for now. Obviously, you can head much lower than that, but until then, I don't see anything to worry about in regards to Bitcoin. This is annoying, I will say that much, and you could even argue that this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. The longer the shoulder drags out is kind of annoying, and not only that, but it's kind of like downtrending as well. So that could be confirmation that we're going to see a much bigger move to the upside. I do think it is very much possible as long as we hold this trend right here, this neckline right here. It's very much possible that we can see a major break to the upside towards 100K, 102K. Highest target I'm looking at in regards to Bitcoin is about 120K this year. Okay, between this year, beginning of next year, I do think Bitcoin is going to head towards 120K. It's just a matter of when. But right now, short term, I would just focus on 100K, 102K target, and then anything higher than that, we'll talk. We'll just go from there. As far as downside goes, 94K is what you want to pay attention to. Until it breaks below that, wouldn't worry too much. So that's what I have for Bitcoin. Now let's get into the stocks. All right, so first things first, Apple. I'm really liking Apple here. What I would like to see Apple do is retest the supply and demand zone right here at around 237.5. And we saw Apple struggle to get above 237.5. It was really having a hard time there. I think it was like Friday, Thursday, one of those days where we were really seeing a hard time here. We see our rejection point here, rejection here. I mean, if we extend it, it's going to be messed up. But regardless, you guys get the idea. You already seen it, right? But even here, I mean, you see a rejection here as well. So we broke above this. So what I would like to see from this point on, let's actually go to the 4 hour time frame here. So what I would like to see, and I mean, it just looks more cleaner on the 4 hour time frame. So what I would like to see on here is a retest of that 237.5 before we head higher. And I think Apple can head as high as about 245, 244 range. And then from there, we'll have to see what happens. But if Apple just if we're talking about some crazy highs on Apple, I mean, right here we see this rising channel, right? Rising wedge, whatever, rising channel. um, if we are talking about like crazy highs in regards to Apple, this thing can, if we're heading back towards the top of this channel, just like we talked about in the triple Qs, and the SPY, I mean, you're talking about a move all the way to the 260s, 260s, 270s, guys. I mean, let's actually mark it out so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. I mean, that would be insane. Okay, that would be insane. So definitely something to look out for in regards to Apple. I think that's insane. When is their earnings actually? Okay, so it's all the way in January. But regardless, I mean, Apple really looks good here. The fact that we broke above that 237.5 is a really good sign here. And so, I mean, this is very clean. So I would really like to see that retest. If we get that retest of 237.5 and we see that, that move on the triple Qs that we talked about, that move all the way down to about 509, 508, somewhere around that range. If we can get that simultaneously around with Apple as well, I'm definitely going to be looking to get into that trade. I'm going to be alerting Discord members on that trade because this is beautiful. This is an absolute beautiful play. Okay, it's just a beautiful setup. So let's hope that Apple blesses us with this move. But if it doesn't, then we'll look for other plays as always. If you want to jump the gun, I would just assume that you want to add more time to it. Just put more time on the contracts as of course. But I mean, you're only $2 off, so we'll see. I mean, hopefully, I would like that perfect entry, but the market doesn't care about perfection, so we'll see. So I really like Apple. Look for that possible retest of 237.5. If it just so happens to get above 240, I would say 240.6. If it gets above that, then it's definitely heading higher. So either or, you could wait for either or, you can just jump the gun regardless. It's up to you. Nvidia. Nvidia's looking really good. Semiconductors as a whole are looking amazing right now. We'll get into that in a bit. Now, you can argue that this is a inverse head and shoulders pattern. So let's mark it out. I always lose track of these. Okay, here we go. So boom, you got your shoulder here. You have a head here, and then you have another shoulder here. But even so, even if you don't want to say this is an inverse head and shoulders, you have a potential. Well, not even a potential. I think the neckline's broken. Let's actually see. You have a bottom here, right? Then you have another bottom here. Yeah, the neckline's broken. You broke this neckline here, and then you just are pretty much retesting about 138.5. So Nvidia can definitely head higher from this point. This looks crazy now, so let me get rid of this. Um, so Nvidia looks good. Nvidia definitely looks good. I think it can see a move towards 145, and we'll talk about SMH in a bit. But right now, semiconductors are looking absolutely diabolical. A close above the supply and demand zone is a very good sign in regards to Nvidia. You see it here, you broke back down. Bull stepped in again. We broke above it, and now we're simply retesting. And as you guys can see, the candles or the bearish candles are getting smaller, which is showing a sign of weakness in regards to the bear. So we could see a further push to the upside in regards to Nvidia. Now, worst case scenario is if we do continue to break further down, I will look for a move towards about 137.5 and potentially see a bounce from there. But right now, Nvidia is looking really good. I mean, everything in regards to semiconductors are looking really good right now. And so let's talk about SMH, the semiconductor ETF, right? And so, this is another reason why I think there's potential for a retest. Now, what's interesting about SMH is what happened here. So we broke up below this rising wedge pattern. I mean, it's clear as day, right? I mean, you rejected here, you bounced here, rejection, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And so what happened is that we hit the 200 daily SMA. I don't have it up right now, but feel free to bring it up yourself. It hit the 200 daily SMA, and SMH really respects the 200 daily SMA. If you look in history, if you go back in time and you see how SMH reacts to the 200 daily SMA, majority of the time it rejects it. Like it's really hard to find a moment where it doesn't reject it, and even when it does break below it, it's very short lived. So we bounced off the 200 daily SMA. If we can, I mean, this is a good sign all in itself. I mean, you see it right here. We broke back above this resistance right here at around 245.3, and now we are heading higher. And so I would like to see a potential either a retest of that 245 level, or we roll back into this rising wedge pattern. Guys, if this is crazy. If SMH rolls back into this pattern, right? Look at all these gaps that's forming here. You have a gap here, right? You have a gap at around 260. You have multiple fair value gaps all in this area. But not only that, this huge gap right here at the 270s range. Right here, guys. I mean, if we break back into this, we can be looking at some crazy highs in SMH, and I'm definitely going to be looking to trade this thing. I rarely trade it, but I just can't miss out on this opportunity. So I would look for a possible retest of 245. But if we roll back into this rising wedge pattern and get some type of a closing candle within here, we're definitely, at least at minimum, we're going to be heading towards these gaps, these fair value gaps that need to be cleared out right here in this area. Very liquid area. We need to clear this area out. And I mean, you can even argue that this is a double bottom right here. I mean, you will have what? You will have your, let's actually mark this out. You will have your bottom here, right? And then you will have another bottom here, and then you will have your neckline right here, which we haven't broken yet. So 248, I will look for a break above 248, a roll back into this rising wedge pattern, and from there, guys, we can go absolutely insane in regards to semiconductors that fall under SMH. Namely, the main one is NVIDIA, so definitely look out for that. So that's what I'm looking at for SMH. Really, really got my eyes on this. Really want to see how this plays out. We're already in NVIDIA, so I'm really liking how things are looking in regards to semiconductors. So let's look at Microsoft. So I'm liking Microsoft so far. I'm not convinced yet. Okay, so right now we're looking at the. Let's go to the 4 hour time frame here. So I want to see Microsoft get above this area. I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is a red line here. I mean, we can obviously just make it so you guys can see it, right? So here you go. So boom. I want to see Microsoft get above this area. Not only this resistance right here, but this trend right here as well. So if it can break above both of these, I think Microsoft is going to head towards 460s, easy, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. But not yet convinced, but Microsoft is looking good. And if we're talking about newer highs in the market, it's only safe to assume that Microsoft is going to do the same. I mean, you're creating higher lows, you're creating higher highs, so it's only a matter of time before if we continue on this path, then Microsoft's going to break higher. So really liking Microsoft. Meta, not too interested in until Meta breaks above 600. Um, did it just gap up? No, it didn't. Okay, so if Meta gets above 600, then we can talk about it. I mean, it's right here. But until that happens, I'm not too interested in it. I think majority of the move is missed out until you get above 600. There is potential to create a lower high here, which I think. Hopefully, you guys are paying attention to the possible retest areas that I'm talking about here, because I already said the triple Qs. I would like to see triple Qs retest that 509, 508 area, right? And so I imagine that the rest of the market is going to follow along, or the big tech is going to follow along, and I would like to see Meta retest 580, 577 before potentially heading higher. If we get that break above 600, then I would definitely be interested in Meta. But right now, I'm just not too interested in it. I think we missed most of that move right now, or at least for the short term, we missed most of that move. So I believe that is it. I mean, I guess we can go over. Let's go over Amazon. You guys love Amazon in Discord. So haven't plotted Amazon, so we're gonna wing this. All right. So in regards to Amazon, so Amazon, I do think if we're talking about newer highs in the market, I definitely think Amazon has the potential to reach 220. Highest we're looking at, let's go to the daily time frame. I'm trying to find what this trend is. Here we go. There we go. Okay, boom. Yeah, so man, all right. Amazon could this is crazy. Yeah, so Amazon, if Amazon's heading back towards the top of this trend, we could be looking at a move all the way to about 230. So definitely be on the lookout for that. To lowball it, I would say 215. All right. I would just really play it humble and look at 215. Right here where these guys are. Let's get rid of this actually. So right here where these guys are, right? So boom. So right here at around 215 is what I would look at in regards to Amazon. You possibly, it looks like we kind of hit that area. We didn't really actually like pinpoint hit it or anything like that. But if we hit this 215 area, possibly retest around 207, fill this gap at around 207 and head higher from there, I would definitely look for an entry point at 207. That's what I would look for. Okay, that's just me. Do what you want with the information. There's like two gaps here simultaneously. This area gets filled, and Amazon bounces from there, you're looking at a crazy move back to the upside. So definitely look at Amazon. Amazon's looking good. I mean, you're constantly creating higher lows here, low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. I mean, this thing looks crazy. So Amazon looking really good. Another stock I want to go over. I'm so glad that I stuck around for ending the video. So AMD. I love AMD. Okay, I'm loving AMD right now. AMD looks absolutely diabolical. So as you guys can see, we broke out of this falling wedge. And if we're talking about the same thing across the board in regards to semiconductors, this thing has the potential to go insane. AMD looks really good here. So I don't know. So if we're looking at a move to the upside, I would like to see, and I'm kind of upset. So let's go to the 4 hour time frame here. I'm upset that I missed this move because I was watching AMD for a long time, and the moment I decided not to watch it, it just took off. Okay, it took off. Yes, I should have set alerts. I didn't. I don't trade this AMD a lot, so that's on me. But regardless, I would like to see AMD retest about that 138 area. 140, 138. I would love to see that, but probably won't get it, probably missed out on it. But if anything, something to pay attention to here. If you want to jump the gun, by all means, I think AMD has the potential. If we're talking about the measured move of this falling wedge, AMD can head as high as about 160. But one thing I would look out for if we're talking about a retest, just like we said across the board, like a real retest, if AMD just so happens to bless you with a move all the way to 138, get some type of fake out down here, because there's a lot of consolidation down here, right? If it can do that before heading higher, you just been blessed. Okay, you just been blessed. I would definitely look for that move, but if you want to jump the gun, I definitely think AMD has the potential to head towards 160, especially if we're talking about SMH, Nvidia, and all the semiconductors just pretty much looking like they want to take off. AMD can definitely make that move much higher. So that would be the move that I would love. 140 retest at minimum, but if you're talking about like a major move, I would say 140.6, 140.5, somewhere around there. But if you're talking about like a really good entry, look for that move to towards 138. Tesla. I don't. I think Tesla's going to head towards 400. I mean, it's really that simple. I would like to see Tesla retest 345. I don't know if we're going to get that though. I really don't. But other than that, I mean, that's really all I have in regards to Tesla. I've been saying this for a while. I think Tesla's going to see 400 by the end of the year, early next year, if anything. I think this thing is going to continue to take off. We'll see. Other than that, that's all I have for this video. Hopefully, you guys got something out of it. Discord link is in the description below if you want to see how we're going to trade these stocks and if we're going to trade these stocks. Really appreciate the support. We're just growing in the Discord almost every week. YouTube channel is growing, so I really appreciate the support. If you have any questions or if you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. Just keep it respectful as always. And until the next video, traders, you have a good one.